We are pulling knives out of my collection today to do full reviews. Now, these are knives that I did unboxings on and did not do a full review, which is very unfortunate because in this example, I really like this knife. But before we begin, thanks for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being a part of all of this fun knife stuff. I absolutely enjoy sharing this and talking about this with you guys. But more importantly, I like it when you guys comment and like and do all of that stuff so that we can continue this two-way dialogue. So everybody that does that, thank you. I really appreciate it. We're taking a look at the Arcane Designs Plexus. Now, this knife has been out for a number of years. It was designed by Elijah Isham, rest in peace, who is a very, if you're not familiar with Elijah's work, you probably are. You might just not know the name. Most people do know him. He's a very strong personality with very strong designs. However, if you don't know his name, I guarantee you've probably seen some of his knives. If you look him up, you'll be like, oh, that crazy knife through Civivi or Wii or wherever. I recognize that knife. I didn't know he was the designer. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but we do have a lot of his really cool designs that he was able to do that we can talk about and enjoy, and this is one of them. It's a collaboration he did with Arcane Designs, who's owned by Israel, who, by the way, is a really cool dude. I had the pleasure of meeting him at a blade show. Super nice, super easy to deal with. And so let's get into it. The other caveat. Two caveats. One, this is not super high on the practicality scale. Right, now it is a knife. It has an edge. It can be used as a knife with an edge, but this is not the most practical. It's on the heavier side. The blade profile's not the most conducive for slicing. No, all the materials are top-notch, capable, but if you're looking for kind of an inexpensive knife that will be the most practical for you to carry, this probably isn't it. But if you're looking for something really cool, a nice conversation piece that is more than capable for all of your EDC needs, maybe this is something worth looking at. I don't know if these are currently available. You can find them on the secondary market, people selling them, but this is a standard model in the Arcane Designs lineup. So I got this as part of either the second or third run of this design. So there probably will be more. These will be popping up for sale again in the future, maybe in different color combinations, different styles, things like that. So keep an eye out if this is something you're interested in. Let's do some sizes and specs. So this is a medium-large knife. Depending on where you measure, you've got some cool details kind of popping up here. Depends on what it is, but 3.5 to 3 3/4 inches, depending on where you measure. Overall length is about 8.5, maybe just under 8.5 inches. Weight is going to be up there. It is a full metal knife, and it is pretty thick in the handle. 5.6 ounces, so not the lightest knife out there, but definitely more than capable. Beautiful satin grind on this Tanto blade, and it's almost got like a dagger Tanto type feel to it with this huge swedge up at the top with the mirroring grinds on there, satin flats, thick blade stock. Look how thick that tip is. Hollow ground, really nice and deep hollow grind back here in this compound grind, flat up at the front, pretty thick up here. This is a classic kind of Tanto feel where it's made for piercing with this nice strong tip, very robust edge. You could dig things out of wood, you can pry things open, small things with this knife. Obviously don't go crazy, it will snap, but it is a very robust tip. And then the back here is meant for more slicing and cutting, which, it's a pretty short grind there, so not the sliciest. But if you're just wanting to cut open packages, maybe use this tip for various needs and uses, cut up some paper, more than capable knife. Very, very nice. Handle here is titanium. This particular one has stonewash, gray, and then it's got bronze with a slightly different finish on there. Looks really, really cool. Now, one of the coolest things about this knife is the fact that me, despite having years and years appreciating, owning, and using knives, look at this thing, and it takes me a minute to figure out what exactly is going on here. These are all separate pieces, as best I can tell. I haven't taken this apart yet. Honestly, I'm a little bit scared, but this doesn't appear to be like all milled out of one piece. So these are separate pieces that seem to be put together. Like right here, you can see a seam right there and right there. And so I'm thinking if you get this thing apart, that these are probably inlaid inside here. Yep, there's a screw right there. And then screwed in from the inside. But it creates a very kind of cool appearance. And if you notice, you've got like this little gap right up at the top here when it's in the closed position. And then you open the knife, and then it leads into this cutout in the blade there. So very, very cool. And Elijah did that, right? He's big into lines. You can see how the top of this cutout flows through on this piece right there, flows through on this piece right there. Very, very cool. Lock bar insert there, and you can see how it's cut out to fit this half bolster piece up here. A lot of cool stuff going on. You can look at this knife for quite a while and just kind of imagine how everything comes together and all of the decisions that were made to make this thing happen. On the back spacer here, you've got the logos. You've got Elijah's logo right there. And then you've got the Arcane Designs diamond and just the X signifying that it's a collaboration between the two. Milled pocket clip. This one's bronze. Hidden screws. Not super deep carry, but there's not a lot sticking out. At least, you know, it's kind of a nub, right, up here. I think it looks really good. Great tension. Doesn't get caught on any material because it's well out of the way of this lock bar cutout here. Flipping action is actually better than I expected. It's got a fairly small flipper. It is set pretty high, so you do get some good leverage, but it flips pretty nice. It's not as snappy as some, right? And some of that has to do with how heavy this blade is. You can see that thick stock right there. But the other part is just it's a smaller flipper blade. Now, the benefit to that is it's not as obnoxious. It's not sticking out here when it's in your pocket, getting caught on things, bumping into things, and then when it's in the open position, it has a little bit of a finger guard there, which, by the way, one of the benefits of a flipper is if this lock fails on you, hopefully it never would, you do have a little bit of extra protection because that flipper should, quote unquote, should hit your knuckle and prevent it from completely closing, or at the very least, slow it down, right? But the downside to that is when you're trying to press cut into things that's on a flat surface, you will hit this flipper first, and it's difficult to use this back part of the blade if you're doing that kind of cutting. Now, of course, standard cutting, push cutting, pull cutting, and of course, piercing doesn't affect that. It's not an issue. Now, this knife comes in a lot of different configurations. There's a bunch of exclusives that were released with carbon fiber and purple, and then various iterations of this color palette as well as some others, so a lot to choose from. Like I said, Israel is a really awesome guy to deal with. I believe it's a one-man operation, as far as I know. So it's just him kind of doing everything, going to shows, taking orders, packaging things up. Maybe he has a helper. I've just never seen that indicated. It always seems like it's just him. So really cool to support small operations like that. Now, you may be looking at this and you're asking, can you flick this open with that hole there? I cannot. Ooh, I barely did right then, and it was a struggle. I had to get just the right angle and really crank on it. Your results may vary. If you have smaller fingers, maybe you can get in there and do that more successfully. I definitely can't do it with my thumb. There is just no freaking way. For me, this is primarily a flipper. It's also a really cool conversation piece to kind of show people and talk about Elijah, his designs, how this thing comes together, how it works. I think it's one of my favorites. It's definitely my favorite Arcane design knife that I own. I've got a number of them, and this is by far the top, to the point where its potential, I may get another one at some point if there's a configuration that's different enough and cool enough from the one that I have to get me to do that. So, all right, that's it. This is a look at the Plexus from Arcane Designs. Once again, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of this knife. Let me know what your feedback is. I'd like to hear from you guys. It also gives me inspiration for doing additional content. So until next time, I'm signing out. You guys take care. See ya.